I had just signed the papers, $30 million wired, and I sat in the hotel's rooftop restaurant, savoring what I thought was the sweetest moment of my life. My daughter, Emma, raised her glass beside me, smiling with practiced warmth. She said, "To the future, Dad, to everything you've built." I reached for my glass of celebration champagne, ready to toast my new freedom, when the waiter leaned close. His face was pale, his voice a strained, terrified whisper that cut through the music and the laughter around us. He said 4 words that turned my blood cold. "Sir, your daughter switched your drink." For a moment, I froze, watching the bubbles in my glass rise like tiny alarms. That night, I didn't drink the champagne, and I didn't touch the money. I found something far more terrifying: the truth about the one person I had built my entire world for. That was the night I realized my greatest victory had become the stage for my greatest betrayal. Hello, I'm Victor. I'm a man who until very recently believed in hard work, legacy, and unconditional family love. I'm speaking to you now as a man in his late 60s, a man who has seen the best and the very worst of human nature, often in the same pair of eyes. Today, I want to share a story that is profoundly personal, gut-wrenchingly painful, and yet ultimately a story of self-redemption. It's the story of how securing my financial future led to the most devastating emotional collapse of my life, and how I found the strength to serve a unique, heartbreaking form of justice. This story touches on the most universal fears: betrayal from those closest to you, the crushing weight of disrespect, and the painful reality that money often reveals the worst character flaws. If you've ever been deeply wronged by someone you loved, if you crave to see true justice served, or if you simply need to believe that even the darkest betrayals can be overcome, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and settle in. This is my real-life story. The most precious thing I ever earned wasn't $30 million. It was the knowledge of who my daughter truly was. My company was in specialized logistics, the kind of business that requires absolute precision, long hours, and relentless commitment. I started it in a borrowed garage 35 years ago. I missed birthdays, anniversaries, and countless school plays, but I justified it. I was doing it for Emma, my beautiful only child. She was the light of my life, the reason for every grueling 16-hour day. Her mother, my late wife Sarah, passed when Emma was just 12. That tragedy deepened my bond with my daughter, or so I believed. I became her protector, her provider, her entire world, and she, in turn, became my obsession. I gave her everything money could buy: the best schools, a luxury car on her 16th birthday, a trust fund for college that she barely touched. Emma, now 35, was beautiful, charming, and possessed that kind of soft, entitled grace that only comes from never wanting for anything. For years, I told myself she was just spirited or modern when she dismissed my advice or showed little interest in the business. I wanted her to take over, to have the legacy. She never said no, but she never said yes either. She just smiled vaguely and took another designer shopping trip. By the time I was 65, I was exhausted. The logistics world is relentless. I was ready to trade spreadsheets, for sunsets. I found a willing buyer, a massive international conglomerate, and the final valuation was everything I'd ever hoped for. $30 million, clean, clear, and wired into my personal account upon signing. The plan was simple. I would retire, buy a small yacht, and travel the world, with Emma joining me whenever she wished. And of course, the majority of that $30 million would eventually be hers. That was the purpose of the whole struggle, her future. We chose a celebratory venue, the Zenith rooftop in the city, known for its breathtaking view of the skyline. The very city skyline I had built my business in. It felt symbolic. We dressed up, me in my best suit, Emma in a stunning sapphire dress that shimmered under the ambient lighting. The final documents were signed earlier that day. This was the celebration. The first toast was simple. To a new chapter, I said, my voice thick with emotion. Emma's smile was radiant. We clinked glasses. I took a sip of my champagne, a fine, dry vintage I specifically ordered. Then, the waiter arrived with our second round. I watched him approach, a young man, maybe 20, looking pale and nervous, avoiding eye contact with Emma. He set down the new glasses, but as he moved away, he leaned in, pretending to brush crumbs from the tablecloth near me. The sound was lost to the background noise, but the words echoed in my mind like a gunshot. "Sir, your daughter switched your drink. Be careful." My heart didn't just drop, it stopped. The physical sensation was immediate and overwhelming. A cold dread washed over my skin, raising goosebumps despite the warmth of the restaurant. My mouth went instantly dry. I stared at the champagne glass on the table. The bubbles still rose, mocking me, inviting me. My mind raced. Switched? Why? I looked at Emma. She was busy laughing at something on her phone, then looked up and gave me that beautiful, practiced, saccharine smile. In that moment, the smile looked like a mask. I cleared my throat, the sound rough and alien. "Excuse me, darling," I said, keeping my tone perfectly even. The stability in my voice was an absolute miracle of will. "I just need to check on a text from Martha, my lawyer. She might be confirming the final transfer." I pushed my chair back calmly, leaving my glass untouched. My hand felt numb, clammy. I walked to the restroom, but I didn't go inside. I went straight to the service hallway. I found the young waiter by the service station. His name tag read Ryan. He looked terrified, trembling slightly. "Ryan," I whispered, pulling him into a quiet corner. "Look at me. What exactly did you see? Tell me the truth, and I promise you will be safe, and you will be rewarded." He swallowed hard. "Sir, I saw her when she went to the restroom earlier. She was quick. She reached into her purse, pulled out a small clear vial, and quickly poured some liquid into your glass, the one you had set down on the corner of the table. Then she switched the glasses, the new one with the one she tampered with. I saw the movement. It was too fast, too deliberate to be accidental. Call security and tell them to meet me in the private office immediately. Tell them it is a life-threatening emergency. Bring the glass, my untouched glass, to the office with you." I walked back to the table. Emma looked up, all concern. "Everything all right, Dad?" I responded, "Perfectly fine, Emma. Just a technical confirmation. Why don't you finish your glass? It's a spectacular vintage. She giggled. Oh, I couldn't possibly. It's too strong. You enjoy it, Dad. You earned it. The lie, the cold, calculated lie, was delivered so smoothly, it was like listening to a polished knife scrape across silk. I smiled back, a hollow, dead smile. I will. Just let me refresh myself first. In the private office, security was waiting. Ryan brought the glass, carefully placed inside a plastic evidence bag provided by security. I immediately called Martha. It was 9:30 p.m., but I didn't care. Martha, I said, my voice like steel wool. I need an emergency warrant, a toxicology team, and a police presence at the Zenith rooftop immediately. My daughter just tried to poison me. Martha, bless her corporate lawyer's soul, didn't flinch. Victor, I'm on my way. Do not let her leave. Keep her talking. I returned to the table. For the next 20 minutes, I performed the hardest acting job of my life. I chatted about the sale, about her travel plans, about her future. All the while, the $30 million sat in my new account, the symbol of everything I had almost died for. When the police arrived, they were discreet. 2 plainclothes officers and a toxicology expert wearing a blazer walked straight to our table. Emma, oblivious, looked annoyed. What is this, Dad? Are we being robbed? I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time since that chilling whisper. I saw not the little girl I raised, but a stranger, a greedy, desperate woman. No, Emma, I said, my voice ringing with finality. This is the police, and that, I pointed at the glass, is evidence. Her face drained of all color. The practiced warmth shattered, replaced by raw, ugly panic. She denied it, of course, yelling, "This is insane. Daddy, I don't know what he's talking about. I love you." The toxicology report came back in less than an hour, rushed through due to my connections and the severity of the claim. The result? My champagne glass contained a massive dose of a potent, untraceable sedative, enough to render me deeply unconscious and stop my heart under the right circumstances. It was designed to look like a sudden, stress-related cardiac event, a common end for men my age after a major business transaction. Emma wasn't just spirited. She was in deep criminal debt. She had secretly financed a failed illicit venture with a shady group, racking up millions in liabilities. They were threatening her life. She needed the money immediately. She knew if I retired, my will stipulated a large but controlled trust paying out over decades. But if I died immediately after the sale, before the trust was finalized, she, as my sole heir, would inherit the entire $30 million outright and instantly. The betrayal wasn't impulsive. It was premeditated. It was a contract of greed signed with my life. Emma was arrested that night and held without bail, facing charges of attempted murder and conspiracy. But prison wasn't enough. Prison was a consequence imposed by the state. I needed justice imposed by the father she destroyed. I called Martha back. "Victor," she said gently, "it's over. She's facing decades. You need to focus on healing." "No, Martha, it's not over. It hasn't even begun. She planned to erase me for the money. I will not erase her, but I will erase the legacy she coveted. I will erase the future she tried to steal. My plan was multi-layered and financially devastating. First, and most obvious, I immediately rewrote my will, removing Emma entirely, and specifically citing the criminal charges. I set up a new charitable foundation, the Sarah Vance Legacy Foundation, named after my late wife. I transferred $28 million of the $30 million into this foundation, with the sole mandate of funding scholarships for underprivileged youth, the exact opposite of the spoiled life Emma lived. The testimony. I decided not to testify at her trial with fire and fury. I would testify with cold, quiet fact. My goal wasn't to incite the jury. It was to show Emma the cost of her action in real time. The trial came 6 months later. Emma was a shell of her former self. The luxury outfits replaced by prison issue. The practiced smile replaced by constant tears. The prosecutor finished their powerful case, detailing the toxicology, the debts, and Ryan's devastating eyewitness account. Then it was my turn. I took the stand, refusing the opportunity to sit. I was Victor Vance, the patriarch, the man who built an empire. The defense attorney tried to paint me as an old, paranoid man, claiming the whole incident was a misunderstanding, and that Emma was a grieving daughter who needed money for a struggling business. Finally, the prosecutor addressed me. "Mr. Vance, can you tell the court what impact this crime has had on you?" The courtroom was silent. Emma, sitting at the defense table, looked at me with raw, desperate hope. Hoping I would soften, hoping I would forgive, hoping I would save her. I looked directly at the jury, and then, slowly, I turned my gaze to Emma. "The physical impact," I said, my voice steady, powerful, but devoid of warmth. "None. Thanks to a brave young man, I am healthy. The emotional impact, however, is permanent." She didn't just try to poison her father. She poisoned every memory of sacrifice I ever made for her. She killed the little girl I thought I knew. Then I delivered the final, crushing blow. When I signed those papers, the entire purpose was to secure her future. The $30 million was meant to be her legacy. Since her arrest, I have taken steps to ensure that the funds are used for a more deserving cause. $28 million, almost all of it, has been transferred to a new charitable foundation. The money that she believed would save her, and that she was willing to murder me for, will now provide full scholarships for hundreds of children she will never meet. Emma gasped. It wasn't the gasp of a woman facing decades in prison. It was the howl of a woman who had just realized she murdered her soul for nothing. The greed that had motivated her was now the instrument of her ultimate punishment. She will not inherit a single penny, I finished. Her act of greed has not made her rich. It has made her irrevocably poor. That, Your Honor, is my justice. The look on Emma's face was not anger, not even humiliation. It was utter, shattering desolation. She had gambled her life, her freedom, and her father's love for a fortune, and in the end, her gamble had only enriched strangers. She was convicted on all counts. I walk away from this not rich, but free. The money is safe, serving a better purpose. The physical weight of my company is gone, replaced by the crushing but necessary weight of the truth. Justice is never easy, and revenge on your own child is a wound that never fully closes. There is no triumph. There is only validation, the knowledge that I stood up for myself, even against the greatest pain imaginable. I still travel. I still run the Sarah Vance Legacy Foundation. And I look at the beautiful, bright students we help. And I see the real legacy of my $30 million. Opportunity given to those who truly deserve it. My greatest lesson is this. Betrayal is the ultimate test of character. It tells you who they are, but how you respond tells you who you are. I chose not to be a victim, but the architect of a meaningful, albeit painful, second act. That story is the most difficult one I have ever told. I hope that in sharing my pain, I've offered some perspective to anyone dealing with deep family betrayal or the cold realities of greed. If this story resonated with you, and if you respect the difficult choices I had to make for the sake of justice and legacy, please smash that like button. In the comments, I want to hear from you. What is the deepest emotional betrayal you've ever witnessed? And how did the victim ultimately find peace or justice? Sharing these experiences helps us all heal. And of course, if you want more true stories of life-altering choices and satisfying resolutions, subscribe to the channel right now and ring that notification bell. Thank you for listening to my journey.